Tonight, 5 young faces, the victims of the Tasmanian jumping castle tragedy.
I just want him back.
A community in grief, the nation mourns with them. Also, COVID cases rise again, but there's breaking news on a major change for overseas travellers returning just before Christmas. Taxpayers forced to foot the bill, the Westgate Tunnel's mega cost blowout. An opportunistic bike thief breaks the heart of a hero charity rider. There's a new man in charge at the Magpies. Hear his message to frustrated fans. And a century for Marnus Labuschagne. The Aussies in complete control at the Adelaide Open.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor starts now.
Good evening. They're the faces of 5 young lives lost in a jumping castle tragedy. Tonight, a heartbroken Tasmanian community is rallying around the families of the children and those still fighting for life after a schoolyard celebration went so horribly wrong.
At the Hillcrest school gates, the Dodd family gather to remember 12-year-old Peter, a victim of yesterday's tragedy.
Just hurts knowing that I won't be able to see him again.
Peter's grieving father said his son dreamed of being an astronaut.
Mischievous little young man that was always having fun and laughing, and
He would always make other people laugh.
Also among the victims, 11-year-old Addison Stewart, a sweet, kind old soul, according to her aunt. 12-year-old Zane Gardam, a friend said he was a gorgeous boy who had challenges with autism, but that never set him back. 12-year-old Jai Sheehan and Jalila Jane Marie Jones, also 12. So many locals came to the school today to console each other.
I've seen all the flowers up here, so I come across that and it just broke me up. Shocking what's happened. Absolutely shocking.
3 children remain in a critical condition after the jumping castle and Zorb balls blew 10 metres in the air in a freak gust of wind. 40 children were at the end-of-year celebration. Hunter Clark Dixon was waiting his turn.
I only saw the Zorb balls going up and people in the jumping castle, and the jumping castle was going up in the air.
He's told me he's sad and he wants his friends home.
There have been at least 5 major incidents involving jumping castles in Australia over the past 25 years. 3 teenagers injured in this one near Geelong in 2014. But at this stage, police will not answer questions about how yesterday's tragedy occurred.
It'll be a very detailed investigation led by the police with the assistance of WorkSafe under the direction of the coroner.
The entire community here is grieving.
My children go to this school and it's just heartbreaking to see that it's all broken down. The whole community's broken.
Just pay respect.
A local GoFundMe page for the families has raised a staggering amount.
We can't comprehend how those families are feeling or what they're going through right now, so hopefully this can just alleviate some of those burdens for them.
The Tasmanian Premier proud of his state's response.
I was inspired by the way that people felt that they wanted to do something.
Well, the community's come together and supported them, which is very good, you know, but it's just so heartbreaking.
And senior reporter Nick McCallum is on the ground in Devonport. And Nick, there is some good news tonight.
Yes, Mike, one of the children injured in the accident has now been released from hospital and is recovering at home. Several local events planned for this weekend have now been cancelled out of respect for the victims' families. So many people we spoke to here today all said the same thing. Devonport will never be the same, Mike.
Nick McCallum, thank you. There's been a major change to quarantine requirements for international arrivals just in time for Christmas. Jade Vincent has the breaking details. And Jade, the 72-hour home quarantine rule is set to be scrapped.
Mike, from Tuesday, fully vaccinated arrivals landing in either Melbourne or Sydney will no longer have to quarantine. They will still need to be tested within 24 hours of arriving and then isolate until negative. But this is a huge relief for families desperate to spend Christmas together. A pre-Christmas testing rush to get the all clear. Queues at walk-up and drive-through sites across Melbourne rivaled shopping centre crowds to ensure COVID isn't going to disrupt festive plans. The Eastern Cricket Association isn't taking any chances, calling off all junior matches this weekend.
We've had a few comments from parents just questioning how an outdoor sport that's got plenty of social distancing can impact on us not actually playing this week. From a safety point of view, I believe the ECA's decision was mainly founded on, if there is a case that spreads, how much of an impact that's going to ruin people's Christmas.
Junior teams like Balwyn North had a positive child play while infected, leaving a large number of players awaiting test results. Strengthening the national side, 90% of eligible Australians are now fully vaccinated. And the Prime Minister says we're in a different phase of the pandemic.
We can't go back to lockdowns. We all know that.
Victoria's local cases are hovering above 1,500, 7 COVID deaths recorded. There are another 6 more Omicron cases, a total of 19 across the state. While New South Wales is seeing Omicron climb, 63 more cases of the variant of concern and another record, 2,213 infections, the highest daily total of the pandemic. The Chief Medical Officer says 3 doses of a vaccine will protect against Omicron, but the interval between jabs will remain at 5 months.
The vaccine remains effective against severe disease, and I think that's one of the reasons why we are seeing increases in cases, but not so much of an increase in hospitalisations or other forms of severe disease.
To push the Victorian rollout of the 3rd dose along, the state government is keeping mass vaccination centres like the Royal Exhibition Building open a week longer for a pre-Christmas booster blitz.
If there is one thing that you could do for your family and for yourself this Christmas is to make sure you get your booster vaccine.
With testing sites overwhelmed with a crush of close contacts, those with symptoms and holiday makers, there are continued calls for the federal government to subsidise rapid antigen tests. The Commonwealth says it's still considering in which settings the tests are needed most. Jade Vincent, 7 News.
A Ponzi scheme pushing scammer has been sentenced to 9 years in jail for ruining the lives of the people he conned. Bill Vlahos lured 1,800 people into transferring him millions of dollars.
Bill Vlahos claimed he'd cracked the code to betting and could help others share in his riches. But in reality, he was running a multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme and investors would never see their money again.
We all trusted the man and thought he was helping us, and it all came down in a pile, and a lot of people were affected. Friends and family.
The charismatic racing identity created a formula that he said offered spectacular returns. After inviting friends to join a club he called The Edge, word spread. But the riches never returned, despite Vlahos obtaining more than $17 million.
We trusted Bill Vlahos through some friends. It's just financially ruined myself and some good close friends.
Today, in sentencing Vlahos to 9 years in jail, a judge detailed how investors lost everything to his deceit.
Mr. Barwin said he was left hopelessly psychologically paralysed, having to tell the people in his group, whom he cared deeply for, and had introduced to the club, that they were all scammed.
One man borrowing $800,000 to put into the club.
He had no choice but to sell his house to pay debts as a result of your crimes. He said your crimes ripped everything from him.
Another victim told the court he'd lost so much money he'd been set back financially by 30 years. Bill Vlahos could be out of jail in 6.
6 years is probably not enough for how many lives he's ruined.
ASIC says Ponzi schemes are often sophisticated and promoters can be very convincing.
If something seems too good to be true, then it probably is.
The amount of businesses and marriages that were ruined, pretty sad actually.
Estelle Greeping, 7 News.
Victorians will be slugged an extra $1.9 billion to finish the state government's problem-plagued Westgate Tunnel project. The total blowout will top almost $4 billion, prompting calls for the Treasurer to resign.
The big build plagued by an even bigger blowout.
The state, of course, is not happy about this. I, as Treasurer, am not happy about this.
Not happy, but according to the state government, not their fault.
The reason it has cost more, overwhelmingly, it was massively underbid by Transurban and their joint venture partners.
But not everyone agrees.
Well, a contract's got two parties, right?
That bit of underquoting comes in at $3.9 billion. $2 billion of it will be paid by the tolling giant. That means $1.9 billion will come from the taxpayer's purse.
This project has been notorious for being rushed to market. It really, to get a good deal for taxpayers, it's really important to do your due diligence.
The extent of the blowout in this project is bigger than the entirety of the government's mental health budget for 1 year.
And the state government claims Transurban purposely delayed works throughout the settlement process.
I believe that that has been part of the approach that they've adopted.
The way they've treated each other in terms of their partnership on this agreement has been embarrassing. This has been a complete disaster, but that's all hopefully in the rear vision mirror now, and they can crack on and build the tunnel.
We will see the tunnel boring machines starting to operate by March of next year, subject to the availability of the high quality soil site.
Not only has the cost of the project blown out, the completion date has too. The state government had hoped for a ribbon cutting ceremony before the November election. That won't happen until 2025. And as for any more costs,
the simple answer is nobody can give you that guarantee. No project on the planet can give you that guarantee.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
There's been wild scenes outside a country court hearing in Myrtleford as a treason case against Daniel Andrews was thrown out. A 51-year-old man was arrested for what police claim is an unrelated matter. A private citizen brought the case against the Premier. 950 people watched a link of it being dismissed. The hunt is on for a callous thief who smashed his way into a car to steal a bike which has raised tens of thousands of dollars for charity. It's the only bike like it in the world, and its owner hopes that will bring the thief undone.
A bike rider becomes a bike thief when he spots a valuable target in the back of a car in Reservoir early yesterday. He leaves and returns minutes later on foot, smashes a side window and rides away on his loot.
My heart sank for myself and the community knowing that this is a community bike.
That's because owner Ange Roan raised $7,000 to buy it, then rode from Adelaide to Melbourne to raise $22,000 for charity in 2018. Its sentimental value is priceless and now it's gone.
Sad is not even the word. You just feel nothing. It's a part of my every single day lifestyle. I ride it to and from work. I ride it everywhere.
She didn't really care about the damage to her car. She just wants the Giant brand bike back.
Take the car, leave the bike. I'm cool with that.
The 24-year-old hoping its unique look will stand out.
It's a custom paint job.
Done by bike painter Steve Munyard.
It pops. It looks a bit circusy, I suppose, in the colours, but it is unique.
The thief's face isn't clear in the footage, but there is one distinctive feature that might give him away: the trailer he was towing behind his bike. Police found fingerprints and are investigating. Late today, some good news.
Giant would like to replace her bike. We'll get Ange in at some point and size her up and find her a new bike.
I don't even know what to say. That is the kindest gesture.
But the original would still be the best. Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Australia has finally signed a major free trade deal with the UK, opening up more doors for local producers. Scott Morrison is wasting no time with a pre-election campaign blitz, testing out new slogans while touring marginal seats.
He terrorised Australia on the pitch.
Hold him.
Now, Sir Ian Botham is going into bat with his Ashes foe on trade.
Well done. Yeah, fantastic.
The cricketing legend, now British trade ambassador, exchanging bats and bottles to mark the UK free trade agreement.
Great to be with you.
We fought together, we've played sport together and against each other, so
It's just a logical progression for me.
This is a significant day for relationships between Britain and Australia.
The first post-Brexit deal for Britain, phasing out tariffs on Australian meat, wine, sugar and more, and on British cars, whisky and cosmetics coming here.
I think a deal like this is massive.
Particularly for those aged under 35, now eligible for 3-year working visas in the UK and for Brits in Australia. Scott Morrison and Boris Johnson sealed the deal earlier this year in London.
We now have 75% of our trade covered by these pro-export agreements.
Scott Morrison and opposition leader Anthony Albanese getting in some pre-Christmas, pre-campaign campaigning, polishing their lines for the real thing. For the Labor leader, it's about the cost of living.
This is a government that have done nothing to lift real wages.
For Scott Morrison, a new 3-word slogan.
Jabs and jobs.
Mark Ryder, 7 News.
One of Eddie Maguire's best mates is officially Collingwood president. Former TV boss Jeff Brown was voted in by the Magpies board this morning. He takes on the role as the AFL's biggest club faces a raft of challenges.
Arriving at Magpies headquarters to officially take charge.
Never comes until it's done. But I hope so.
Jeff Brown was voted onto the board last night. His rise to one of footy's highest profile jobs rubber-stamped at a meeting today. But instead of answering questions, his first words came in an online video for members.
Clearly the focus needs to be on winning games of football, and that's what our supporters are desperate for.
One of the issues high on Brown's agenda, midfielder Jordan De Goey's future.
I think you just got to watch and see, be supportive, but be very forensic in analysing the facts.
He remains stood down ahead of next month's New York court hearing on assault charges. It was a hot topic with members at last night's meeting.
We stand by that. But importantly, we're now working through that process and we'll arrive at an outcome and a fair outcome.
Jeff Brown's official appointment marks the end of what's been a rocky 12 months at the club after Eddie Maguire's sudden exit at the start of the year. The pair are friends, but the president is promising a new era.
On the field and off the field, we're going to exert our influence as we should as the most powerful club in the AFL.
Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
Sport is ahead with Laura Spurway, and Laura, the Aussies are holding on at Adelaide Oval.
They are, Mike. It's been slow going with the bat, but Steve Smith and the team are in a solid position. That's thanks to an outstanding performance by Marnus Labuschagne and his century earlier today.
And that will be his 100, his 6th in tests, his first against England, and his phenomenal form continues.
Also coming up, a massive new deal for Jack Steele at the Saints and his ambitions to take on the captaincy solo. And Mike, we'll cross to the Premiership Demons best and fairest tonight with an update on Simon Goodwin's contract.
OK, see you soon. Thanks, Laura. A former footy star's in custody tonight. Details straight ahead. Plus, a new foreign airline is setting up its Australian base here in Melbourne. Up next, what's being promised by Bamboo Air. Also, new details on a state memorial service to honour 4 police who died on the Eastern Freeway. Why the Queen has cancelled pre-Christmas celebrations. A netball legend to be immortalised in bronze. And later on 7 News, the 3D technology mapping cancer cells in a mission to save lives. A date has been set for a state memorial to honour the 4 police officers killed in the Eastern Freeway tragedy. Leading Senior Constable Lynette Taylor, Senior Constable Kevin King and Constables Josh Presney and Glenn Humphreys were killed in April last year. The service had to be postponed because of the pandemic. It will now be held at Marvel Stadium on Thursday, February 3 and will be open to the public. There's breaking news on serious police charges against a former AFL star. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown has the details. And Tom, this involves former Essendon and St Kilda player Andrew Lovett.
Mike, according to court documents obtained by 7 News this week, Lovett is facing at least 11 assault charges and is currently behind bars this weekend. The assaults are alleged to have taken place between February 2020 and November 2021. He faced the Dandenong Magistrates Court yesterday and was represented by top leading QC David Grace. Lovett played 88 games for the Bombers from 2005 to 2009, traded to St Kilda before he was terminated. He was found not guilty on 2 counts of rape by the county court in 2011. Lovett was remanded in custody, didn't apply for bail, and is due to reappear in court on the 11th of January, Mike.
Tom Brown, thank you. A new foreign airline is moving to Melbourne, overlooking Sydney, to set up its Australian base. While direct flights to Vietnam are still a few months away, demand for tickets is already soaring.
Bamboo is the first foreign airline to expand into Melbourne since the pandemic began. Direct flights to Ho Chi Minh City set for takeoff in April next year.
Direct flights, I think, are going to be far more popular in the future because, again, transit flights get uncertain. If you're there for longer periods of time, that may mean another test, different rules in different countries.
In a win for Victoria, the company's Australian offices will be based here in Melbourne, fending off interest from interstate. More than a third of Australia's Vietnamese migrants choose Melbourne. One of the main draw cards is education.
With the recent announcement from the Prime Minister that we're accepting back those skilled workers, foreign visa holders, as well as our international students, that will be critical for our universities, and Vietnam's a great market for that.
In 2021, 350,000 Australian people went to Vietnam, and the Vietnamese people come to Australia is 100,000.
In another sign, the travel industry is continuing to bounce back. More than 50,000 travellers are moving through Melbourne Airport today, more than the entire month of October. Adding to that, Rex's first direct flight from Brisbane to Melbourne, running twice daily during the week with fares for $79. Flights to the Gold Coast are from $65.
It was always our intention to fly the Golden Triangle, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and we've now completed that.
Hope Wilson, 7 News.
The Queen has cancelled her traditional pre-Christmas lunch for the second year in a row, fearing her family would be put at risk. It came as Britain recorded the highest number of COVID cases in a single day since the pandemic began.
Inside a UK COVID ward, doctors and nurses treat patients with Omicron, all admitted to hospital because of unrelated health complications.
We do not have any major problems inside the hospital Omicron. There are no ill patients with Omicron at the moment, but it's early days.
The country's daily COVID cases spiked to a record 88,000. But an undeterred Prime Minister is pushing on with his booster campaign.
Thank you very much for doing this.
Boris Johnson rubbing elbows and shoulders with Britons, rolling up their sleeves for their third jab, promising not to be a Christmas Grinch.
We don't want to make your choices for you about your social life. We're not closing things, but what we are saying is people should be cautious.
The Queen is taking precautionary measures to ensure her family remains safe, cancelling her pre-Christmas lunch, which was to be held here at Windsor Castle next Tuesday.
The monarch also had to scale back last year's festivities, scrapping the same annual get-together usually attended by more than 50 royal family members, raising questions if her Christmas at Sandringham will still go ahead. In London, Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
Netball great Sherelle McMahon will be immortalised in bronze with a statue at John Cain Arena. She will become just the 5th female athlete to have a statue erected in their honour in Victoria.
Well, this really is a huge honour for me as an individual, and I'll absolutely take that on board. For me, this really is a representation and a celebration of our sport as well, more broadly.
There are 29 existing statues of male athletes in the state and 3 of racehorses. There's some potentially severe weather on the way. Sonia Marinelli has the details. And Sonia, it could be dangerous.
That's right, Mike. Today was settled, but we have potentially damaging winds developing early tomorrow as a trough moves over the state. Elevated areas you can see here in yellow, as well as parts of the exposed coast. That's the focus of a severe weather warning during the morning, where winds could gust up to 90 kilometres an hour. Saturday will be quick to heat, but a rush of cold air behind a change should hit the city around 2 o'clock. So enjoy this warm night. It's a balmy 30 degrees outside right now. Mike will be back with the forecast after sport.
See you soon. Thanks, Sonia. As traffic levels surge for the holidays, police are targeting the major roads in and out of Melbourne. Details next on 7 News. Also, why authorities want to search Alec Baldwin's phone. A Sex and the City star accused of sexual assault. See the moment a French daredevil speeds past the pyramids and surfs up for summer. The important warning from an Olympic superstar. We have some pictures just in now. A stolen car has caused chaos on Warrigal Road at Chadstone. Emergency services remain on the scene after an SUV believed to be stolen came off the Monash freeway onto Warrigal Road, went straight across lines of traffic and hit 4 cars. 2 teenagers in the SUV have been taken to hospital with serious injuries. 4 people from the cars that were hit were also injured. 2 women are in hospital, 2 others received minor injuries and were treated at the scene. Police are launching a holiday crackdown targeting our major highways. This year's road toll is already far higher than last year. Now, grieving families are pleading with everyone to take extra care this festive season.
226 baubles, one for every life lost on our roads this year, including 65-year-old Fred Vanderbroek.
I wish I could hear his voice. I wish I could talk to him.
Fred died in May after he was hit by a car on his way home from work. It will be his heartbroken family's first Christmas without him. For Lee Grayling, it will be his second without his wife and 16-year-old daughter, after they died last Christmas Eve, just a few minutes away from home.
I blame myself for a long time. What if I'd been driving? Could they have left 5 minutes earlier?
Victoria's road toll is already 15 higher than last year.
We were really worried about, as we came out of lockdown, an increase in road trauma, and unfortunately that's exactly what's played out.
From tonight until Boxing Day, police will be out in force as part of an annual Christmas blitz. Operation Roadwise will target major state highways, chasing speeding, drink and drug drivers.
Since lockdown ended, 33 people a week have ended up in hospital due to a crash, and that number is expected to rise over the holidays.
This is the opportunity to make some smart decisions before you get behind the wheel.
It may cause some slowing of traffic, it may cause you to be caught up. That's too bad.
Kathleen O'Connor, 7 News.
American police have issued a warrant to search Alec Baldwin's mobile phone. It follows the fatal shooting of a cinematographer on the set of his film Rust. Investigators are looking for any photos, videos, text messages or calls relating to the film's production. No charges have been laid at this stage. A French daredevil has whizzed past the pyramids of Giza in a wingsuit. Clocking speeds of 250 kilometres an hour, he came closer to the world wonder than any wingsuit pilot ever before. Usually they're only allowed to fly above the pyramids, not next to them. Hollywood star Chris Noth has been accused of sexually assaulting 2 women on 2 separate occasions. The actor, best known as Mr. Big in Sex and the City, has denied the allegations, saying the encounters were consensual.
After rebooting their hit TV show and reviving old roles,
Carrie, party of 3?
Sex and the City has a scandal unscripted.
Sex and the City star Chris Noth is facing allegations of sexual assault from 2 women.
Noth is better known as Mr. Big, on-screen husband of Carrie Bradshaw. His return to the role prompting 2 women to come forward with separate rape allegations. One woman who used the pseudonym Zoe told The Hollywood Reporter she was 22 when the actor allegedly raped her at a West Hollywood apartment in 2004, requiring hospital treatment. Another woman using the name Lily said she was 22 and working at a Manhattan bar when she met Noth, then 60. Back at his apartment, he was having sex with me in a chair. I was kind of crying as it happened, she told the publication, saying she left feeling awful, totally violated. Noth has categorically denied the claims and said the sex was consensual. These stories could have been from 30 years ago or 30 days ago. No always means no. That is a line I did not cross. With Los Angeles police now investigating, the public fallout's been swift.
To new beginnings.
His viral advertisement for a bike company was pulled from the internet immediately. The series spin-off overshadowed. In Los Angeles, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
Olympic gold medalist Emma McKeon is launching a new campaign aimed at driving down drownings on Australian beaches. The star of our Olympic team now determined to have a different kind of impact on the water.
She's made her name in the water.
An Olympic record, this one all on her own.
But this summer, Emma McKeon is looking out for others.
Stay safe this summer. Find a patrol beach and swim between the red and yellow flags.
The face of Surf Life Saving Australia's latest ad campaign.
Well, I did a little bit of nippers growing up, just a tiny bit.
Emma has partnered with Ironman Kendrick Louis and Nutrigrain. Cereal boxes now stamped with a QR code that can determine if your local beach is patrolled.
And most mornings we're out paddling or swimming ourselves, and look, there's a guarantee that you're rescuing probably half a dozen each morning.
During the pandemic, drownings along the coast have increased by 13%. That's 136 in 12 months, with more than half happening at unpatrolled beaches.
I think because of COVID, everyone's trying to escape the busy beaches and go to more remote beaches, which are actually unpatrolled.
And as much as it's a beautiful place, it looks to be, it's very dangerous and lives can be lost out there.
Surf Lifesavers ready for a busy Christmas.
If you want to swim, swim at a patrol beach between the red and yellow flags.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
The world's first true millipede has been discovered by scientists in Western Australia. The critter was found on a mining site with a record 1,306 legs. Until now, millipedes have never lived up to their name, the prior record standing at only 750. New 3D technology is helping Melbourne doctors see cancer cells like never before. Next on 7 News, how the medical breakthrough is set to revolutionise treatment. Also, the moment a car owner fights back at a would-be thief. Why it's been an epic payday for the boss. And no, it's not a fridge, but a new appliance growing real-life herbs and vegetables. A would-be car thief got much more than he bargained for trying to steal a Queensland man's beloved Land Cruiser. Owner Terry Dennehy sprinted after the ute. As the vehicle picks up speed, Terry lunges in, putting the thief in a headlock and taking control of the wheel.
There ain't much going to stop it, so I thought, well, the only way I can do is jump in with him. If he's going, I'm going with him.
Terry's partner Dee then rushes in, swinging a plank of wood. Battered and bruised, the offender escaped empty-handed. New technology being developed right here in Melbourne is helping doctors see inside cancer cells. It's set to guide new treatments for patients suffering from cancers that typically spread to the bone.
It's a Google map, just not as we know it. This high-resolution 3D technology tracks how cancer spreads and could drastically change the way we treat the disease.
It's like determining the seed is the cancer cells and the soil is the organ. By normalizing the soil, we can find a way to better treat the cancers.
The map can zoom in and out, flying through the bone, pinpointing the exact location of individual cells. Researchers from the Walter and Eliza Hall Institute are using the new technique to compile hundreds of images.
That's a leg from a mouse that is infiltrated with cancer cells.
Over 70% of breast and prostate cancers end up spreading to a patient's bones, causing pain and the bones to break. In some cases, it can't be treated. If it travels to the brain, it becomes even more deadly.
The patient will rely on chemotherapy, but usually they aren't very effective. It's a very difficult condition to treat.
More than 20,000 Australians have been diagnosed with breast cancer this year and 18,000 with prostate. This new technology will help stop those tumours and save lives. Experts believe this mapping technique could help specialists discover why cells travel beyond their origins. Once they figure that out, they can work to stop them before it's too late.
There are different ways to treat cancers. So in addition to targeting the cancer cells or directly killing the cancer cells by chemotherapy,
researchers hope to move to human trials in the coming years. Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
Bruce Springsteen has sold the master recordings and publishing rights for his life's work. The deal with Sony is reportedly worth a whopping $500 million. It gives the company ownership of 20 studio albums, including classics like Born to Run, The River and Born in the USA. A 20-time Grammy winner, Springsteen's music generated about $15 million in revenue last year. Technology giant LG is launching a new fridge-style appliance, allowing users to grow plants inside. The tech giant promises even a novice green thumb will be able to cultivate vegetables and herbs in the comfort of their kitchen or lounge room. There's no word on the cost or when the appliance will be available here in Australia. The forecourt of the National Gallery of Victoria has been transformed to celebrate two new colourful exhibitions. One showcases the work of 11 female contemporary artists working in northeast Arnhem Land.
Taking customary and traditional art forms and bringing it into the 21st century.
There's also a new exhibition for children designed to introduce younger audiences to Indigenous artwork. Well, it's been a case of patience at the crease today in Adelaide. Laura Spurway, Steve Smith is taking it slow but steady.
That's right, Mike. The Aussies are still building on their total after losing a few wickets before dinner. Now looking to consolidate under lights after Marnus Labuschagne notched up his first Test century against England. Plus, we're live from the Premiership Demons' best and fairest with an update on Simon Goodwin's contract. Collingwood put through their paces in the final session of the year as the club elects a new president. And the Aussie BMX star making a big comeback from injury. Welcome back. Marnus Labuschagne has continued his love affair with Adelaide Oval, making the most of a number of chances to notch his first Test ton against England. Stand-in skipper Steve Smith is fighting on night two after Marnus Labuschagne's first Ashes ton, as we mentioned, thanks to plenty of help from England.
Test cricket under lights always includes a few surprises.
Can you believe it?
Back-to-back 90s for David Warner, at least numbing the pain of his badly bruised ribs for a while.
Obviously I was pretty close, but unless I've got no leg, I'm not going to not walk out in the field.
Warner's parting gift thrilled one lucky boy. Steve Smith's clearly welcome back as captain. But it should have been England's night.
Edge and goal dropped! Oh, Butler has dropped an absolute sitter.
On 95, Labuschagne's second life from Butler after a restless night.
That bounced at him.
And a painstaking hour and a half in the 90s.
Yes. Runs for Labuschagne.
A sixth Test century for Marnus Labuschagne. Only Bradman passed 2,000 runs with a better average.
He just loves batting, becoming a run-making machine.
On 102,
Edge gone.
Butler finally held him, but Robinson had overstepped. You couldn't make this up. Come back, Marnus. A third life and grin like the Cheshire Cat. Still on 102. A fourth chance. With that run of luck,
That might be interesting, and he's given him.
why not review a plum LBW? Labuschagne went for 103.
It feels like you have to grind for every run you're out there.
His mate Smith edged past 50 before it turned for Joe Root in England.
Gone.
Travis Head gone for 18, then Cameron Green for 2.
Got him.
5 for 302 into the middle session. Time to break the shackles.
And he makes sweet contact.
Alex Carey and Smith pushed on, knowing every run is priceless against the pink ball on this pitch. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
The Premiership celebrations are continuing for the Demons tonight at their best and fairest event. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown is on the red carpet, and Tom, this will be a hot count tonight.
Laura, it's 57 years in the making. They annihilated the Bulldogs. An incredible season, clearly picking between Petrarca, Oliver, Gawn. It's going to be a formidable task for the best and fairest count tonight. Now, regarding Simon Goodwin's contract, an update. They've agreed to the substantive terms. It's now just a mere formality, the signature, at least before the start of the season. I spoke to their CEO, Gary Pert, a short time ago.
We've said that we want to get it sorted out by the time that the season starts, and we'll do it then, but there's no hurry. We'll get it sorted out. It's all in a good place, but it'll be early next year.
How do you separate Petrarca, Oliver and Gawn?
Well, it's going to be tough, and I think it's going to come down to the last votes, but I reckon you could probably put 5 or 6 players into that squad, and they're going to fight it out.
Laura, 1,500 people here. I'm told it's the biggest event at Crown in terms of a function since the start of COVID. The final session for a number of clubs today, including Collingwood, who went old school on the hills at the tan. Our cameras were there. Collingwood's main session this week and final day for the year was taxing. They finished their normal session, Craig McRae mixing things up. The new coach went old school. 7 News cameras there, with players doing repeat grass hill climbs on the tan. Surprisingly, in this era of sports science, it's a relatively rare sight. Continuing his impressive recovery from a broken leg, Scott Pendlebury boxed. Last night, the Pies took aim at the AFL, who have cut Richmond, Essendon, Hawthorn and Collingwood's dividend by $2 million. The only 4 clubs paid the minimum amount.
We are bitterly disappointed in that, and Mark and I strenuously argue with the AFL that that wasn't fair. But they make the rules.
At St Kilda, Jack Steele's re-signed for a further 5 years until the end of 2027. The co-captain shares the role with Jaron Geary and was asked about sole captaincy.
I'd be more than excited to do that for this group and have their support. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what they decide.
Rowan Marshall has 2 years to run, but is also keen to sign an extension. And a blow for the Blues defence, Liam Stocker sidelined for 3 months with an ankle injury. Tom Brown, 7 News.
There are no guarantees Sir Lewis Hamilton will return to the Formula One paddock. Mercedes have dropped an appeal over the controversial finish in Abu Dhabi, which saw Max Verstappen crowned world champion. The team boss Toto Wolff says Hamilton will never get over the loss.
His heart will say I need to continue because he's at the peak of his game, but we have to overcome the pain that was caused upon him on Sunday.
Aussie Formula 2 world champion Oscar Piastri has been named FIA Rookie of the Year. Melbourne United has thrashed the Sydney Kings in a history-making encounter at John Cain Arena. After just 6 minutes, United led 26-0.
But it is all happening for Melbourne. Even the big man stepping out, knocking him down.
It was 34-5 at quarter time, then 55-21 at the main break, both record margins. The Kings lost 89-47, their lowest total in club history. Still recovering from the fall that prematurely ended her Olympics, Aussie BMX star Saya Sakakibara is set to race for the first time since Tokyo at the Australian Nationals on the Gold Coast this weekend. It's her last competition on home soil before she moves to France for more racing and her partner.
This year I've only done like 2 races and one being the Olympic Games, so it's going to be really good to get back into the race season.
Saya has her eyes firmly set on July's World Championships, also in France. Great story. And that's sport.
Thanks, Laura. Sonia is next with the forecast. And Sonia, when does the change arrive?
Well, Mike, our cool, gusty change will hit early afternoon, so make the most of these balmy conditions. Hello again, and what a Friday it was. Just as expected, spectacular and warm. Right now we're sitting under some high cloud and a gentle breeze. We hit a high of 30.8. The warmth will stay with us as we move through the night, dipping down to just 22 degrees by sunrise. Right now it's lovely and warm outside around the suburbs. It's 29 degrees in Essendon and 30 for those of you in Watsonia. It was a warm Friday across most of the state, but hot up in the northwest, still sitting on the mid-30s there now. It's 25 degrees in Traralgon. So this is the state of play at the moment. We've got high pressure tracking over the Tasman as a low pressure trough approaches from the west. Tomorrow expect northerly winds to whip up ahead of a cool change. Isolated showers and gusty thunderstorms will move in from the west. And then on Sunday we've got a strong cold front coming in, bringing showers, storms and again potentially damaging winds, but it will improve on Monday. To the national forecast now, the weekend will kick off mostly dry in Brisbane, sunny and warm in both Sydney and Adelaide. Here in Victoria, these calm conditions will be no more. The Bureau has issued a damaging wind warning for these areas in yellow, and that is where peak gusts could hit 90 kilometres an hour. During the day, isolated showers and gusty thunderstorms will extend in from the west, increasing over the east during the afternoon. That heat building early under gusty northerlies before shifting to a cooler but still gusty southwesterly. Closer in,
there's a good chance of showers in the morning along with the risk of a storm. We'll start off in the high teens and low 20s tomorrow, hitting our highs late morning. Then a rush of cold air will hit Melbourne around 2 o'clock, quickly dropping the temperature by about 10 degrees. So the city starting on 22, then it's a windy top of 33, the chance of showers and a rumble of thunder. More showers, a possible storm on Sunday, up to 20 millimetres of rain in the city, top of 25, improving on Monday, mostly sunny and 26. And look at Christmas Eve, 23 degrees on Friday. But we do have a big weekend of weather ahead, Mike.
Lots going on there. Thanks, Sonia. And that's 7 News. We'll head back to the Ashes. Have a great weekend.